Illinois v. Caballes, Supreme Court, 2005. Justice Stevens delivered the opinion of the court. Illinois State Trooper Daniel Gillette stopped respondent for speeding on an interstate highway. When Gillette radioed the public dispatcher to report the stop, a second trooper, Craig Graham, a member of the Illinois State Police Drug Interdiction Team, overheard the transmission and immediately headed for the scene with his narcotics detention dog. When they arrived, respondent's car was on the shoulder of the road and respondent was in Gillette's vehicle. While Gillette was in the process of writing a warning ticket, Graham walked his dog around respondent's car. The dog alerted at the trunk. Based on that alert, the officers searched the trunk, found marijuana, and arrested respondent. The entire incident lasted less than 10 minutes. Respondent was convicted of a narcotics offense and sentenced to 12 years imprisonment and a $256,136 fine. The trial judge denied his motion to suppress the seized evidence and to quash his arrest. He held that the officers had not unnecessarily prolonged the stop and that the dog alert was sufficiently reliable to provide probable cause to conduct the search. Although the appellate court affirmed, the Illinois Supreme Court reversed, concluding that because the canine sniff was performed without any specific and articulable facts to suggest drug activity, the use of the dog unjustifiably enlarged the scope of a routine traffic stop into a drug investigation. The question on which we granted certiorari is narrow: whether the Fourth Amendment requires reasonable, articulable suspicion to justify using a drug detection dog to sniff a vehicle during a legitimate traffic stop. Thus, we proceed on the assumption that the officer conducting the dog sniff had no information about respondent except that he had been stopped for speeding. Accordingly, we have omitted any reference to facts about respondent that might have triggered a modicum of suspicion. Here, the initial seizure of respondent when he was stopped on the highway was based on probable cause and was concededly lawful. It is nevertheless clear that a seizure that is lawful at its inception can violate the Fourth Amendment if its manner of execution unreasonably infringes interests protected by the Constitution. A seizure that is justified solely by the interest in issuing a warning ticket to the driver can become unlawful if it is prolonged beyond the time reasonably required to complete that mission. Official conduct that does not compromise any legitimate interest in privacy is not a search subject to the Fourth Amendment. We have held that any interest in possessing contraband cannot be deemed legitimate, and thus governmental conduct that only reveals the possession of contraband compromises no legitimate privacy interest. This is because the expectation that certain facts will not come to the attention of the authorities is not the same as an interest in privacy that society is prepared to consider reasonable. In United States v. Place, we treated a canine sniff by a well-trained narcotics detection dog as sui generis because it discloses only the presence or absence of narcotics, a contraband item. Respondent likewise concedes that drug sniffs are designed and, if properly conducted, are generally likely to reveal only the presence of contraband. Although respondent argues that the error rates, particularly the existence of false positive, calls into question the premise that drug detection dogs alert only to contraband. The record contains no evidence or findings that support his argument. Moreover, respondent does not suggest that an erroneous alert in and of itself reveals any legitimate private information, and in this case, the trial judge found that the dog sniff was sufficiently reliable to establish probable cause to conduct a full-blown search of the trunk. Accordingly, the use of a well-trained narcotics detection dog, one that does not expose non-contraband items that otherwise would remain hidden from public view, during a lawful traffic stop generally does not implicate legitimate privacy interests. In this case, the dog sniff was performed on the exterior of respondent's car while he was lawfully seized for a traffic violation. Any intrusion on respondent's privacy expectations does not rise to the level of a constitutionally cognizable infringement. This conclusion is entirely consistent with our recent decision that the use of a thermal imaging device to detect the growth of marijuana in a home constituted an unlawful search. Kylo v. United States. Critical to that decision was the fact that the device was capable of detecting lawful activity, in that case, intimate details in a home, such as what hour each night the lady of the house takes her daily sauna and bath. The legitimate expectation that information about perfectly lawful activity will remain private is categorically distinguishable from respondents' hopes or expectations concerning the non-detection of contraband in the trunk of his car. A dog sniff conducted during a concededly lawful traffic stop that reveals no information other than the location of a substance that no individual has any right to possess does not violate the Fourth Amendment.